Ever wonder what happens when you mess with the guy who owns your water? Let me tell you about the time I caught my HOA dumping raw sewage into my lake right under my nose and didn't know I held the key to their entire water supply. It's a story of sludge, spite, and a showdown that left a neighborhood parched and a HOA president running for the hills. It all started with a smell. Not the usual lake breeze I'd grown to love after a decade on the water. This was nasty, sharp, sour, like someone left a porta-potty baking in the sun. I first noticed it on a quiet Tuesday, sipping coffee on my deck, watching the herons glide over Willow Creek Lake. The water looked off, too. Darker. Greasy, like oil pooling after a storm. I figured maybe a farm upstream had a spill. But by Thursday, the herons were gone, and the lake was choking on algae, thick, grayish-green mats spreading like a bad rash. Something was wrong, and I'm not the type to sit around waiting for answers. So, I grabbed my kayak, a cooler of ice, and some old mason jars. Spent Saturday paddling around like a discount detective, scooping water samples and stashing them next to my beers. The stench got worse near the southeast cove, behind the HOA's maintenance shed. That's where I found it, a fat plastic tube, half buried in cattails, puking brown sludge straight into my lake. No filter, no label, just a hose spewing filth into the water I used to dive into every July. I snapped photos, shot video, and called the county. The lady on the phone sounded like she was already half asleep, saying she'd open a case. I wasn't holding my breath. Around here, the HOA runs the show, and their president, Linda Harper, acts like she's the queen of a gated empire. I wasn't about to let it slide. Monday, I marched into the HOA office with a folder of photos and 3 jars of that foul water. Linda sat behind her desk, all prim in a crisp blazer, her smile as tight as her bun. "Mr. Carter," she said, like she was about to sell me a timeshare. "Hear about the algae, I presume?" I slid a glossy shot of the hose across her desk. "That's not algae, Linda. That's sewage. From your shed." Her smile didn't budge. "Proof?" she asked, cool as ice. I plunked a jar down. "Take a whiff and tell me." She didn't. Just pushed the photo back like she was folding a bad poker hand. Then she flipped the script. "Your property's right on the lake, Mr. Carter. How do we know this isn't from your septic?" I blinked. "Because I haven't had a septic tank since the 90s. You switched us to a shared system, remember?" She tapped her pen, unfazed. "Well, our last inspection found standing water near your shed. Possibly a possible gray water discharge." That's when I saw if this wasn't a chat. It was an ambush. She slid a violation notice across the desk. Do Law 1200 fine for hazardous runoff and lake contamination. Due in 30 days or else. I laughed. "You're fining me for the sewage you're dumping?" She leaned forward, smug. "It's not your lake, Mr. Carter. It's the HOA's. Community property." That was it. I stood, folded the notice, and tucked it in my pocket. "You just screwed up, Linda," I said. "Big time." Her smile was pure venom. "See you at the board meeting." Word spread like wildfire. Neighbors stopped wah-vee-wahing. My packages arrived bashed. The HOA newsletter ran a shady op-ed about irresponsible lakefront owners. Someone even left dog crap in my mailbox twice. Linda had declared war, painting me as the VY lane. But she didn't know something nobody did. 30 years ago, my granddad, a retired hydrologist, drilled the well that feeds the entire HOA. Before the sub-VY Shown existed, it was just his cabin and a dream of going off-grid. When developers came, he cut a deal. They could tap his well for a monthly fee, but ownership stayed with him and his heirs. That's me. The HOA forgot, but I didn't. Their check still hit my LLC, and the contract? Ironclad. I dug through Granddad's old files, heavy steel drawers stuffed with yellowed papers. There it was, a 1989 water rights agreement, signed, notarized, with a county map showing every pipe in the sub-BVY sign clubhouse, pool, sprinklers, taps all tied to my well. I wasn't just a homeowner. I was their lifeline. And Linda, bless her heart, had no clue that every time she flushed her office toilet, she was using my water. I called an old buddy, Mike, from a water quality gig years back. He owed me after I saved his hide in a drunken excavator mishap. "Can you test for lead copper coliform works?" I asked. "Tomorrow," he said. "If I find something, you going loud?" "Nope," I said. Silent. He showed up with his gear, looking like he lived on venison and flannel. We tested my well, my tap, and 2 HOA hydrants. My water was pristine. The hydrants? A nightmare, fecal coliforms, phosphates, chemicals I couldn't pronounce. They weren't just trashing the lake, they were poisoning their own supply. That's when I acted. No fanfare, no warning. Just a wrench turn in the pit behind my garage. I shut the valve, locked it, and chained the well hatch. Then I grabbed popcorn and watched the chaos unfold. Phone calls flooded in. An HOA email blamed maintenance. By morning, pressure tanked. Linda's fancy fountain died. Sprinklers sputtered. Toilets gurgled. Bottled water trucks rolled in, draining the HOA's overdrawn budget. Residents raged to la 900 monthly fees, and they're hauling jugs like it's a disaster zone. Linda called an emergency meeting barring me. Didn't matter. A neighbor, Tom, snuck me the agenda. Legal action against well operator. Me. The next day, a certified letter arrived accusing me of sabotage and endangerment. They demanded I restore water, submit to inspections, and sign a new agreement. Their terms, no pay. I laughed so hard I nearly choked. You can't sue a guy for cutting off his own property, especially after they broke the contract with toxic dumping. I called my lawyer, Sarah, a land rights shark who eats HOAs for breakfast. "Faxing you something," I said. "Bury them." She cackled. "I live for this." Our cease and desist hit Linda's desk in 48 hours, with a complaint for environmental misconduct, contract termination, and a due law $114,780.62 invoice for testing, repairs, and fees. Linda didn't blink. She sued me for damages, and get this, emotional distress, claiming I cut the water to settle old scores. In court, their lawyer, a slick suit with a due law 300 tie, painted me as a nutcase. "Mr. Carter, do you think you're above the community?" I smirked. "No, but I'm above your sewage line." The room snickered. The judge raised an eyebrow. I handed over my arsenal, test results, drone shots of the dumping, contract excerpts, and Mike's affidavit of VYT. The judge flipped through, then glared at their lawyer. "Why didn't you mention this?" Their case collapsed. Linda blamed her crew. The crew pointed back. The judge ruled for me, awarding damages for property loss and stress, banning HOA use of my well without a new deal me terms. Bottled water trucks became permanent. The pool drained. Linda's newsletters went quiet. I added a sign by the well. "Private supply. Trespassers will be billed." Below it, in small print, "Hydration's a PRIVY leg." Then I countersued, naming Linda, 3 board members, and their maintenance guy for negligence, contamination, and defamation. Sarah hand-delivered the 47-page packet to their lawyer's office, just for kicks. The neighborhood went nuts. Old board minutes surfaced, showing Linda's cost SAVYing. Plan to divert waste to retention zones, my lake. A former county guy, Ed, dropped a bombshell. A 2019 report pro-VYing the HOA built illegal diversion lines to dodge city fees, disguised as irrigation. Satellite images backed it up. The trial was a circus. Linda's hydrologist flopped when Sarah showed drone footage of the sludge pipe. Reporters swarmed. Linda claimed the well was public. Sarah shut her down. Belief isn't ownership. Ed sealed it, testifying they dumped sewage on purpose. The verdict gutted them. The HOA owed due law $367,000 in damages, $80,000 in fees, and faced a state audit. Linda got personal fines for misconduct. The court gave me sole will control every drop, every pipe. Linda's live TV meltdown, admitting to gray water dumping, went viral. Karen admits HOA dumped poo to save cash. Trended. She resigned. The board collapsed. Her house hit the market, sealed by a state investigation. The lake healed by fall. Fish returned. I hosted a barbecue, toasting clean water with cider. A new plaque by the lake read, "This is what happens when you find the guy who controls your faucet." Another by the shed warned, "No dumping. We drink this." Neighbors, once cold, brought pies and apologies. They begged me to run for HOA president. I didn't. I just sipped coffee on my dock, boots off, dog at my side, watching the sun glint off crystal water. The sign above the pump house glowed. Private supply. The faucet was mine. So was the peace.